The national chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA Ezeokenwa, has clarified allegations by the All Progressives Congress APC in Anambra State that the recent by-election was rigged. Ezeokenwa alleged that the APC, through its agents, hijacked electoral materials, frustrated INEC officials, and intended to smuggle in results of votes that were not accredited. Well, the APGA chairman also defended Governor Chukwuma Soludo's endorsement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the 2027 race.
While the election was largely peaceful and well conducted across the various polling units, wards and local governments within the constituencies, there were isolated incidents where agents and supporters of the All Progressive Congress's APC senatorial candidates attempted to disrupt the process. These minor incidents, however, did not detract the overall peaceful nature of the election, and the majority of voters were able to cast their ballots without hindrance. The APC senatorial candidate for the Anambra South by-election, with the active assistance of armed thugs, abducted some presiding officers, assistant presiding officers, and other election officials in polling units 003, 004, 005, 006, 013, and 015, along with the INEC result sheet and other electoral materials.
Well, APGA National Chairman Sylvester Oslai Ezeokenwa joins us on Arise Prime Time to discuss these issues and also allegations that APGA and the governor are not allowing opposition parties and lawmakers thrive in the state. Glad to have you join us, Sly.
Thank you very much, my dear brother Andy.
Well, I listen to you, but this is what the opposition is saying. I mean,
yes.
It's a question of back and forth. You know, your word against theirs. The opposition is crying out. APGA won the elections, we know, in Anambra State. Yeah. But there's a but. The opposition, ADC, APC, claimed there was a systematic sabotage, collusion, and deliberate disenfranchisement, ultimately undermining the credibility of the process in Anambra State.
Well, let me start with the basic principle of law, that he who alleges has the onus of proof. And I don't think it is incumbent on us to begin to proffer reasons or proffer evidences in support of the allegations of the so-called opposition. Of course, like you said, we had an election on the 16th of August in Anambra State, and not just in Anambra, there were other constituencies where these elections were conducted outside of Anambra.
We'll come to that.
And now, the reasons why you're hearing these allegations is because we are somehow inching closer to the November 8th election. And the opposition will have in Anambra, knowing fully well that they have nothing to offer, they have absolutely nothing to offer, have decided to cry foul about a process, an election that has been adjudged by all and sundry, including election observers, as very credible. And the yardstick or template, some have even come out to suggest that if INEC can actually upscale such yardstick nationwide in 2027 or future polls, then we are almost in the condition of getting our electoral process or electoral system right. And so anybody has the right or the ultimate powers to cry foul about anything. Of course, that's why we have the election tribunal and other things. If you look at the election, incidentally, I was actually a major player at that election. I was the constituency collation agent for APGA at that election. From the distribution of both sensitive and non-sensitive materials, up until the end of voting, entering of result sheet in various polling units, collation of results, and the ultimate declaration, it was a seamless process. In most polling units, at least I can say 95% of polling units, without exaggeration, materials arrived in those polling units as early as 8 a.m. I've not seen INEC get it right with logistics as they did on August 16. And the only thing I implore INEC to do is to ensure that whatever system they put in place to ensure that they didn't have any issues with the deployment of materials to various polling units in Anambra South and Onitsha North 1, that they actually try as much as possible to make sure that they implement such strategy on November 8th. And I can tell you we're going to have a very credible polls.
We'll get to November 8th.
Yeah.
It's sounding so sweet, the way you're saying it.
Yeah.
But that's not the way the opposition is saying it. For example,
yes.
about INEC, particularly ADC,
Yes.
alleged that APGA used security operatives and INEC to deliberately, that's what they're alleging, subvert the people's will. They say INEC will tell tax of our word and local government coalition agents.
Yes.
And this prevented them from defending their votes.
Now, I've been somehow faced with this allegation in the past. And the answer is very simple. It is ADC's issue to sort with INEC.
Okay.
But I can tell you more often than not, when you have such accusations, it is a product of the ineptitude of the party in question. Because INEC has processes. From the upload of candidates or nomination of candidates, INEC now have a dedicated portal where these things, issues concerning nomination of candidates and upload of agents for an election are done. And INEC has what we call a schedule of activities, or what we call timeline. So for any election, immediately INEC releases what we call the notice of election. It follows with a timetable or timeline of schedule of activities. And there are limited time within which certain actions must be taken by political parties. In the context of this election, because it's a by-election, INEC gave just 1 month notice. And I think the notice was actually on the 16th of July. And the election was conducted on the 16th of August, 1 month. And the timeline that INEC gave, if you did not upload your agent to the dedicated portal, how will you have agents? And even the political party that you mentioned, the ADC, they don't have any structure in Anambra State. Absolutely no structure. I can tell you that. If it's Labour Party that is making this allegation, I can say, yes, they have some snippets of structures here and there. The so-called candidate of the ADC is unknown.
That's Anambra,
yes,
right?
Yes, he's unknown. He's not a player known in Anambra State. Of course, you can even try as bad as possible and get the result of his polling unit in Ehala local government. I can tell you he lost his polling unit. And so you don't come when you woefully lost an election. I think ADC garnered less than 2% of the vote cast in an election that was conducted in 118 wards, 1,934 wards. You could not win one polling unit.
You don't think it's because of these allegations he's raising? I know he got about 2,000.
If ADC did not have, let's assume, for argument's sake, that ADC did not have agent, or INEC, for whatever allegation, did not or deny them the access to their agent's tag. APGA had agents. APC had agents. PDP had agents. The other political parties, that YPP, prominently, had agents. And so you cannot just come and make a bogus allegation that because you were not given agents tag. First, you must show with irrefutable evidence that you actually uploaded your agent to the dedicated portal. And so if you don't have anybody to upload, are you going to upload spirit or ghost?
What about the talk that your governor,
yes,
you're from Anambra State, I mean, he's your governor.
Yes.
Governor Soludo and APGA are using operatives to harass and intimidate other political parties tending towards a one-party state?
You see, like I said, anybody is free to make all manner of allegations. And when you say operatives, I wouldn't know whether you are by this question.
I mean, you have
probably trying to.
I'm
coming to that. We have security agencies. We have the police. We have the civil defense. We have the DSS. We have the military. Now, a day or 2 days before the election, we had an AIG. I think his name is Chris Eze, who was in charge of the said by-election in Anambra. And he did announce that only conventional security agencies of the country are allowed to function at that election. And to that extent, the members of the Agune Chamber were not part of the election.
And the
Udogachi, they were not part of the election at all. The only place, and I can tell you that, the only place where they were seen on the eve, I think at the end of the election, towards around 6, 7 p.m., was at the residence of the APC senatorial candidate.
Yeah,
Honorable Azuko. That's the only place. And the question is, what happened? You must start from the Homeland Security Law. That was actually the enabling law, creating Udogachi and the Ezeokenwa, the joint security operation. Because mind you, when you talk about Ezeokenwa, you must differentiate it from Udogachi.
Yeah.
Udogachi is the joint security operative that comprises of various security agencies, the military, the police, of course the Ezeokenwa, which is the Anambra Vigilante Services. Now, what happened? At the end of the election, of course, they mentioned the polling units in the documentary that was just aired before this interview. I think it's about 6 polling units. In Orif, there were 3. Elections were properly conducted. Results entered in various result sheets and uploaded to the IREF, sitting pretty on the IREF. And while these presiding officers were on their way to the collation center for Orif, there were 3. What did we hear? The APC candidate, with some armed talks, diverted them. More like an abduction or kidnapping, if you may use that word.
That you're alleging.
No, not allegation. We have irrefutable evidence. We have voice notes. There are videos. In fact, in one of the videos, you could see the President General of the community. He is not a member of APGA. Who doubles as the President General of Anambra State Town Union Council. There were some where you see Orifite youth in front of the residence outside the gate of Honorable Azuko Okosa. Because, you see, there are certain things I don't want us to treat with levity. If a candidate could have the temerity to abduct federal government agents, because these are coppers who are actually serving in Anambra State, they don't know anywhere. Some of them came from far other places in some parts of the north, some parts of the southwest. And what was their crime? They came to offer their services in the conduct of a credible election.
So you're saying,
and so when they abducted these people, and they actually, from inside the residence, they sent out a distress call. And it was the distress call because you are talking about the issue of abduction and kidnapping of federal government agents. That was what actually attracted some members of Udogachi, because, like I said, Udogachi is a joint security operative. So the Ezeokenwa members that you saw there are actually members of the joint security operative that were actually at the residence of Honorable Azuko Okosa to actually secure the release of those he was holding hostage inside his compound. And he refused.
And you said there's
a
video of what you're saying.
There is a video. There is a video when these security operatives were outside his residence. In one of the videos, I can tell you, I think his name is Savin Dike. That's the President General of the community, where he was outside calling on Azuko Okosa to release those, because for him, he had the duty to protect the image and integrity of his community.
So was Okosa, was he arrested?
Well,
I mean, if what you're claiming is right, that's why I'm saying. So was he arrested?
Of course, that's why in the press conference that we held earlier today, we called for his arrest, an investigation. We have actually submitted a petition to the police in respect of that, because it is not something that should be swept under the carpet. Otherwise, future politicians may begin to think that that is the way to go in an election.
Are you aware that the opposition is calling for a thorough review of that entire electoral process in Anambra State, Anambra South? Rather?
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with a thorough review. There's nothing wrong with a thorough review. Let me tell you, and I'm going to say this with statistics. There are 118 wards in Anambra South and 1,934 polling units. Now, out of this data, APGA won election in about 1,925 polling units. I think maybe 1,920 polling units, meaning that we lost in just about 14 polling units. And that represents about 99.5% win rate. I don't see the magic any opposition would have done. Anambra is APGA land. And it's not just because the election was held just 2 weeks ago.
Like the governor says.
Yes.
He says, I heard him here, he says, Anambra is, the way he says it is APGA. He says Anambra is
of course.
APGA.
Yes, APGA is Anambra. From 2006, that P2B took over, ultimately to Willie Obiano, and now the giant strides we are witnessing under the present incumbent administration, Anambra people have not seen the reason for them to divorce the sanctity of the marriage that exists between Anambra and APGA. It's a marriage that is built on trust. It's a marriage that is built on delivery of developmental projects. It's marriage that is built on delivery of dividends of democracy. And so, if you look at the facet what the incumbent government is doing, you can be sure that Anambra's people are not ready to part ways with APGA. And I don't see them doing that anytime soon. Okay, meanwhile, you remember I was trying to reel out some statistics with respect to the election. Now, where you had incidents are just isolated cases. Or if there were 3 that I just mentioned, then parts of Nnewi South, where incidentally the governorship candidate hailed from, because he himself committed his own infractions. Yes. In Nnewi South local government, we have Ezeokenwa, Ward 1 through. In fact, in Ezeokenwa Ward 1, he actually directed his armed thugs to assault a serving commissioner of the state.
What are you talking about here?
That's Prince Nicholas Okachukwu, the APC governorship candidate.
Okay.
There is also another video making rounds. It is there on social media where he threatened to burn down the vehicles in the convoy of the deputy governor of the state, and that nothing will happen.
You know, these days of AI, one hopes is
No. This one is not AI. Let him come out and deny it. The video is there. The video is there. Irrefutable evidence. In fact, in some of the polling units, both in Ezeokenwa and in Osumeni, we have voice recordings of presiding officers who narrated the harrowing account of the ordeal they suffered in the hands of the APC governorship candidate, where he was making bogus claims. In fact, in some, he was pointing, in fact, some of the presiding officers, he told them, if you listen to these voice recordings, you will see where they said, or they alleged, let me use the word alleged, that he told them that anybody that ventures write any result, which is not what he will give them, that the person will not go out of the place alive.
As in a threat?
Yes, more like a threat.
All right.
In fact, in some polling units in his ward, he's been brandishing the result. I think 2 polling units, he succeeded. You will see a polling unit where I think APC had 300 and something. Now, what happened at the point of collation? At the point of collation, the collation officer looked at the details of accreditation as contained on the Beavers machine and discovered that the number that was actually accredited at that polling unit was not up to 10% of the number contained in the result sheet, which ultimately led to the rejection.
Let's move forward. Let's talk holistically. APC won 12 of the 16.
Absolutely.
What do you make of the by-elections across the states?
Yes.
Is it a sign for you of your state and across the states of what 27 will be like, both in Anambra and nationally?
Well, you know, I think 2027 is still quite far away.
Not too far.
No, I know not too far. INEC is yet to announce the timetable for that election, just like I mentioned earlier in my press conference. And it will maybe quite early, or a little bit early to begin to make postulations. But I can tell you one thing. Sadly, it is very sad that incidentally, I or my party is meant to be one of the parties in the opposition, even though our idea of opposition is different from the conventional meaning of opposition that many people have come to profess in the country. But the point must be made. I'm going to come to that if you want me to, of course, divulge that. I'm going to come to that. In the context of the 2027 election, I can tell you that looking at what is happening, and then I'm trying to see, is there any magic that the opposition can do? I pray that there is, but essentially I do not see any magic that anybody can work presently. Our party, and to answer that question you asked about our idea of an opposition, I believe in constructive criticism.
Yes.
That's one thing I believe. I'm one of those I believe that I want President Tinubu to succeed. Because if
I knew where you were going
Tinubu, I must say this. If President Tinubu succeeds, he succeeds for all Nigerians. We all are eagerly interested in a Nigeria that works for all. And we're not apologies about that. And then for us, politics ought to be about ideology. And ideologically speaking, our political party, as a progressive or the foremost progressive party in Nigeria, is ideologically aligned with some other political parties, including the ruling APC. And that's why you see the national leader of our party, incidentally the governor of Anambra State, come out severally to say that progressives are working together.
Looks like you're preempting my question about, I think you're preempting my question about yes. Soludo visiting Tinubu with a cap,
yes,
showing support for the president. Is he planning to defect in these days of endorsements and defections?
You know, when
yeah, well, go on. Yeah.
When you started, you did say that the governor has endorsed Mr. President for the 2027 elections. Incidentally, I'm one person that believes that your allegation is more like putting the cart before the horse. And why do I say this?
Honey, where's the cap?
No, I'm coming. If you look at the cap, what is boldly written on the cap is progressives are working together.
Progressives are working together.
Yes.
So that means he's working
now, of course, there's no doubt about it. The governor has maintained. Of course, the president has equally said that severally.
Is that not anti-party?
No, it's not. You see, that's why I say we have a misconception of what opposition is meant to achieve. There is what we call coalition. There's what we call partnership.
Like you have ADC.
Now, of course, maybe like we have ADC. Incidentally, if you want to even go deep down to that particular coalition that you just called the ADC, you will see that some of the active players, the political parties, go to their manifesto. Their manifestos are ideologically different. And then you're coming under a coalition. When, for example, Labour Party, if you look at their ideology, you will see that even Labour Party's ideology as a political party is more or less aligned with the ideology of the ruling APC. And then, more like left of the center. And then you see other political parties that are parallel lines, ideologically speaking, and they are coming together in a marriage of convenience. And so, if you look at it, you find out there is something fundamentally wrong somewhere. And that's why some persons are projected that such emergency coalition may not necessarily work. It's more or less a marriage of strange bedfellows.
So your governor is not defecting?
Now, no.
But he's endorsing.
Of course.
But he's endorsing Tinubu.
Soludo has never said that he's defecting to any party.
But he's endorsing.
You see.
But he's endorsing Tinubu.
You see. That's why I said you need to listen.
Okay.
When you say he's endorsing Tinubu, remember I told you this. The president has not even announced any intention to run any election. The president has not done that. INEC has not even released timetable for the election.
You're talking like a politician.
I'm coming. No, I'm not talking. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you the fact. Now, the point I'm trying to make is very simple. That ideologically, APGA as a political party is ideologically aligned with the APC.
Because they're progressives.
We are progressives.
Now,
and the main trust of our alignment is to actually advance the cause of progressivism in the country. We believe that the president is headed in the right direction with respect to the economic reforms and other reforms that the president has been able to engender. That's our firm belief. And we believe that he has taken that tough decision. When the governor came out and said this, many people said, crucify him. Now, so many international organizations are now coming in to reiterate what Soludo has been saying more than 2 years now. Yeah, that is the simple fact.
Let's talk about the November 8th election. Then we'll get down to what the former president Jonathan just said recently.
Okay.
About INEC. You know, we're discussing about INEC earlier on. Campaigns end at midnight on Thursday, 6 November 2025. Voting will take place in 5,720 polling units across your state on Saturday, the 8th of November. How prepared is APGA and your governor for this election in Anambra State?
The answer is very simple. The answer is very simple.
How simple is simple?
Look at the result of August 16th.
So that is a yardstick?
That's the yardstick. So we see, when we tell you that Anambra is APGA land, We've never had an election where we won 77% of the vote cast and 99.4% of the polling units that elections were conducted. You see, meanwhile, November 8th is even going to be much worse for the opposition. Why do I say this? In Anambra, we are tilting towards a consensus candidate. Soludo cuts are because we've seen endorsements by the 3 senatorial zones in Anambra. And we've seen stakeholders in different opposition political parties come out to say, look, we are talking about Anambra. It's about an agenda. One people, one state, one agenda. And if you think and you believe that you have the interest of Anambra at heart, then the best thing you can do for now is to come out and support the governor. Because he has done tremendously well across all diverse sectors of the economy. This is not just APGA members, I'm telling you, members of the opposition. And that's why the election is still tuned towards a consensus candidate. There's a consensus of opinion that the governor has done tremendously well.
I know that when I discussed with him, we couldn't get there. He's called
Exactly.
What I said, are you listening to that?
Of course. This is not APGA. Because you must say this. It's not members of APGA
But
that give
by
him
the
that
way,
title.
for the people who can't understand,
Yes.
Oluwatuegu means someone who
is
walk,
not
does
afraid.
not frighten.
Yes.
Is not afraid
Well, of course.
walk.
Who is
All right.
not afraid of course, embarking on any developmental project anywhere,
what do you
no
make
matter how
of
difficult the terrain is.
That's what that means.
Yes.
What do you make of what the former President Jonathan said? I think he said it today.
Okay.
He said that INEC, before an INEC chairman is appointed,
Yes.
he should face an independent screening. He's also demanding for the establishment of a registrar separate. I mean, many people have been talking about unbundling INEC.
Yes.
Separate from registrar of political parties, separate from INEC. What do you make of
You see, I can tell you this. Part of the problem we have in this country is unnecessary proliferation of agencies. You know, there are so many moribund agencies around in the country, and we are still clamoring. You know, some persons are still clamoring for the creation of more. I agree. If you look at the Independent National Electoral Commission, I'm one of those that believe that they're actually unnecessarily overburdened. Funny enough, some persons, sadly, the council that I belong to, IPAC, are one of those that are equally calling for even INEC to take over the conduct of local government elections. While we are talking about how do we relieve the commission of the myriads of functions that they have or responsibilities. Yes. And so, you see, for every argument, there are going to be reasons both for and against. And so when you say you create a different, because INEC has departments, it's not as, even if you create a separate agency, what useful purpose will it serve? Will it change the provisions of the Constitution? Because let me tell you, registration of political parties are regulated by laws.
Yep.
It's not something, even if you like, create 1,000 agencies. The Constitution defines what a political party is. It defines the conditions or the criteria that a political party or an association must fulfill before it can be registered as a political party.
You know, for example, INEC is not supposed to prosecute this question of prosecution.
Yes.
So, I mean,
but we still have various other bodies that are, you know, even the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and the other law officers under the Office of the AGF. Nothing stops them from prosecuting electoral offenses. The point is this. There are so many agencies, so many bureaucracy that is stifling development in this country. And the more we call for proliferation, creating more agencies that serve no useful purpose. If you look at I think it's the Mohammed Owais report, you will see hundreds of agencies that they actually recommended should actually either collapse to other sister agencies or should be scrapped entirely. These are things that will try as much as possible to shrink the budget, or what I may call the recurrent budget or recurrent expenditure of the federal government. So when we are talking about reduction in cost of governance, you're still talking about proliferation of agencies. To serve what purpose?
So you're not supporting what the
I'm
president
not supporting it at all. I'm not.
All right. Well, talking about campaigns, Anambra State are on the right track. They are not disobeying any law.
Absolutely.
The campaigns have started, ends 6 November.
Yes.
But what's your sense of parties campaigning before the referee blows the whistle? I had Farouk Aliyu, Farouk Aliyu Adamu Aliyu, is an APC chieftain.
Yes.
Even the APC. I mean, you see campaigns all over instead of disobeying the 150 days.
Yes.
And he feels that INEC should take the flak, that they should wield the big stick.
You know,
why are parties disobeying that law?
Let me tell you the problem here. And when I say this, incidentally, sadly, I will say sadly, this profession is not one that I actually believe that will, be part of someday, in terms of being a politician.
Okay.
But the fact is that that is what it is. You see, politicians will always find a way to outsmart the system. That's generally the problem.
So what do we do?
I'm coming, because you see, when you talk about violating the laws or regulations, in most of these cases, what you see are not actually campaigns. Because you must define what a campaign is by a political party.
That's another issue.
Yeah, you must define what a campaign is. There must be a clear definition so that we know when a political party is actually crossing the threshold of violation. A political party is at liberty to hold, say, a NEC meeting. A political party is at liberty to, say, hold something like a rally. So the question is, if a political party is holding a rally in an area, how do you now come to say that is that? Some persons have come out to say that it's unless you come out and say vote for this person, that is the only time it can be termed a campaign.
So a rally is not a campaign?
Yeah. In some cases, it may not be a rally. It may not be a campaign. If a political party, just like you said, it's akin to saying that the meeting or convening of a meeting of a political party is campaign.
No, that's not a campaign. You have NECs, you have...
There is nothing wrong in a political party coming together in a place. For example, in our party, we have what we call ward tours. More like sensitization. Because you must know this. There are so many functions that political parties are meant to perform in a democracy like ours, including sensitization.
Yeah.
My political party, APGA, we have the liberty to go about sensitizing the people on so many policies of the party, the ideology of the party. We hold seminars, we hold workshops.
Yes, like before I let you go,
Yes.
because my time has run, just this note, because I mean, I thought about this. I'm aware that courts ordered Ezeokenwa to pay you 20 million. So the case is rested.
Well, I can tell you that the case is rested. It's a case. It's a case. Interestingly, I wouldn't want to comment on because it would seem as if I have another agenda to prosecute. It is shameful. I will use the word shameful. You could see. I think you must have heard the news that he has now jumped into another political party, the NRM, and is dragging the leadership of that party with another person, less than a month after the Supreme Court declared that he was not the national chairman of APGA. And INEC, incidentally, did come out to confess that they regret the role that they played, even though, like I said, I forgive everybody in that debacle. I understand the enormity of the expectations on INEC at that time, especially given the fact that there were actually some court judgment and misinterpretation that actually attended those court judgments. So I don't blame them. It's one of those things we see in a nascent democracy like ours.
So it's rested.
It's rested.
All right, so we'll see how things play out. Thank you so much, Sly Ezeokenwa, for joining us. Okay, well, just a quick one.
Yes.
Will APGA field a presidential candidate?
At the appropriate time, we are going to take that decision. It's not a decision I alone can take. It's not a political answer. It is the prerogative of the it is the prerogative decision of the National Executive Committee of the party to determine. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Sly Ezeokenwa, for joining us on our Rights Prime Time.
Thank you
Glad
so
to
much.
have you discuss
Thank you.
this issue.